YouTube, welcome to my week 1 breakdown. I'm going to give you my thoughts, insights, and takeaways from this week's slate of games and how that relates to fantasy football and sports betting going forward for the rest of the season. First, we're going to get started with the New York Jets and the Steelers. First game here, the Jets and the Steelers, an actually very entertaining game as Aaron Rodgers heads back to MetLife Stadium to take on this Jets team. My big takeaway, the Jets backfield, Breece Hall, who a lot of people thought going into the year was going to start to lose his job to Braylon Allen. After week 1, I feel like that's not the case. We saw Breece Hall get 19 of the 38 running snaps with 2 targets out of the backfield, where Braylon Allen, he only had 7 carries out of 38 possible snaps. So Breece Hall is the RB1 in this offense moving forward. Braylon Allen, though, however, should be a waiver wire pickup, and he should be rostered in most leagues. Next, Arthur Smith and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are a run-first team, and that's how it's going to be. Even though it seemed like Aaron Rodgers was slinging the ball around, I just think he was more efficient when he had the opportunities. 7 targets here for DK, and sneaky, Calvin Austin also had 6 targets. So if you're looking for maybe a deeper stash, I think Calvin Austin might have some purpose in fantasy leagues going forward, and he might be an option that we can exploit in some matchups. Next, Colts and Dolphins. It just seemed like the Colts wanted this game a little bit more with Jim Irsay and honoring him. The Dolphins, they came out flat. They did not look like they wanted to be here on the field. I don't think it's time to panic, but things could get very hot in South Beach if they do not turn things around here quickly. Couple things to note. Dolphins, again, they did not play well yesterday. Not many bright spots that we can look at. They're hurting in the secondary, and their offense just really fell flat. The Colts, on the other hand, with Daniel Jones at home, Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren are 2 very viable fantasy options moving forward. Jonathan Taylor looked like he was back to his old self after that early holdout last season. I think slowed him down in the beginning year. He looks good this year, possibly RB1. And Alex Pierce, second in the team in targets, but really just a deep threat until something else changes. Pittman and Warren, though, they are must-adds in fantasy moving forward. Las Vegas and New England, a lot of rookies on the field, a lot of playmakers here. Jacoby, 10 targets on 37 snaps. He looks to be Geno Smith's #1 target, especially if Brock Bowers is going to miss time. But Brock Bowers, 8 targets of his own, a 3.96 yard per route ran, which is just unheard of for a tight end. He's lining up everywhere. 7 snaps in the slot, 7 snaps out wide, but he did leave with an injury early in the 3rd quarter. That makes Michael Mayer a stringable option if Bowers were to miss any time. He saw a decent amount of work as well. Genty, 19 of the 24 possible rushing attempts for the team. He's the clear bell cow. It looks like he's going to be an RB1 to end the season here. Travion Henderson, on the other hand, not much in the running back room. Ramondre Stevenson still got a lot of that work, but 6 receptions on 6 targets on only 18 routes ran. PPR monster coming from Travion Henderson. If you're in a PPR league, he's a must roster, and he's a flex option moving forward until that rushing upside kicks in. And Booty for the Patriots. He was their leading wide receiver, 8 targets on 44 snaps, which led the team. It seems like he might be the wide receiver 1 in this offense. Too early to tell, but moving forward, he needs to be a waiver wire add this week as Drake May looks to expand on his solid rookie season. Kayshon Boutte might be his wide receiver 1. Panthers and Jags. This game saw a weird game script. Early lightning delay in the first half kind of threw this game off kilter, but a couple things. Travis Hunter, 8 targets in the game. He's lining up 71% of the time in the slot, which is where we saw Brian Thomas Jr. line up a lot of last season. He is now lining up on the outside. He did see 7 targets, only 2 catches, but I think that is a lot due to J.C. Horn, a very solid cornerback for the Carolina Panthers, who basically shadowed him the entire game. On the other side of the ball, the Panthers, Bryce Young kind of reverting himself back to the early days of last season. Out of the 3 wide receivers, McMillan, Renfro, and Leggett, they all saw a lot of routes ran, but targets. T-Mac led the way with 8. I think he's probably the only viable option in this offense. Their backfield is basically Chuba Hubbard and just a slew of wide receivers. Until Bryce Young can really figure it out and pick it up, this is going to be a very lackluster offense. Bengals and Browns, again, we see the Bengals get off to a slow start in week 1. Jamar Chase had to have been the most bet touchdown prop of the weekend. He only settles for, 3 catches. Not a great showing. Joe Burrow, they had like 12 yards of passing offense in the second half. Not great. Bright spot. Chase Brown, a lot of hype coming into the season. He lived up to that. He got all of the running back carries for the Bengals. Dylan Sampson, a pleasant surprise with Quinshon Judkins just signing his rookie deal on Saturday. He didn't play yesterday. Dylan Sampson, he took that opportunity and he ran with it. 8 catches on 8 targets, and he led the running back room with 12 rushing attempts. Jerome Ford and Sanders. Sanders got that goal line work and the touchdown, but this could be a crowded room once we add in a Quinshon Judkins. But Dylan Sampson, I think he's a running back to add. He clearly provides some receiving upside, and they're wide receivers. We saw a lot of them see targets and catches on Sunday, and if we think the Browns are going to be as bad as they are, they're going to be airing the ball out. So Fannin, rookie tight end, Cedric Tillman, second-year wide receiver, and Jerry Jeudy all seem like very good options. And don't forget about David Njoku. Lots of options on this Cleveland Browns offense, especially if we see them passing the ball as much as they did this last week. I think all of these guys can be added in most leagues, deeper leagues for sure. But Cedric Tillman, he's probably available. I'd go out there, see if you can't add him. Giants and Commanders, an all-around very sloppy game. Not a whole lot of fantasy production, but some key takeaways. Malik Neighbors and Wandale both saw a 21% target share per route run, which led the team by far. Malik Neighbors, once those catches down the field come in, he's going to be wide receiver 1. But interesting enough, Wandale Robinson, he saw a good uptick in volume. PPR leagues, he is a viable option. Debo, 32% of the targets per route run, very good. He only ran 31 routes, but those 10 targets, that's high volume. And Scary Terry, the Giants just have his number. He never performs well against them. I'm not worried. I think this Commanders offense will turn it around here moving forward. Week 1 divisional game, it happens. Tampa Bay and Atlanta, a very entertaining game. The Falcons had chances to win. They actually probably should have won. Bijan Robinson, he looks like he's going to be up in the running for RB1 overall. His pass catching ability is just unworldly. But Tyler Algier is still there. He got about 50% of the work in the carries. But that doesn't scare me. I still like Bijan Robinson as a top 5 running back to end the season. Drake London, he picked up right where he left off last year with Michael Penix. 43 of 51 passing snaps he was in on. That led to 14 targets. An insane rate, but he did get banged up in the fourth quarter, so we'll have to monitor that going forward. Kyle Pitts, maybe it's finally his breakout season in year 4, year 5 at this point. Emeka Egbuka and Mike Evans, 37 of the 38 passing snaps Emeka Egbuka was in on, whereas Mike Evans was only in on 34. That is crazy insane for a rookie. We heard the praise all off season. Granted, Chris Godwin did miss this game, so maybe that led to it, but Egbuka, he showed why he was getting the hype all off season. 2 touchdowns, and he played just about every snap. If Drake London does miss, Ray McLeod or Darnell Mooney, they get a bump up as probably flex options, as there's going to be plenty of targets to go around in this high-flying Falcons offense. Rams and Texans, not a whole lot to take away from this game. Nick Chubb, he's the clear bell cow in this offense until something changes. I think if there's one thing to look at on a positive note from the Texans offense, when C.J. Stroud was not running for his life, is we saw a lot of targets go to the tight end position. 4 apiece for Dalton Schultz and Cade Stover. So those two tight ends might be viable in a streaming option come later this year, but right now, more just a monitor. And for the Rams, it's the big three. It's Puka, Devontae Adams, and Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams saw 95% of the carries. That Blake Corum hype coming into the season, that did not take off week one. It's those three, and that's about it. 49ers and Seahawks, a big road win for the Niners. A couple takeaways. CMC, thought to have been dealing with a calf injury. That calf looked healthier than ever. He looks like vintage CMC. George Kittle, on the other hand, hamstring injury in the second quarter after his touchdown. Something to monitor going forward, but it seems like it could be a lingering injury. Ricky Pearsall, he led the team in snaps. He seems like the clear outside target for Brock Purdy right now until Brandon Ayuk comes back and Juwan Jennings gets up to speed after his early season holdout. JSN on the other side of the ball. Sam Darnold did not toss the ball that well, and the Seattle offense kind of just spun its wheels at time, but JSN, the one bright spot. 13 for 23. He is about the only pass catcher on this offense right now, other than maybe Kenneth Walker. 3 receptions on 3 targets. But this running back room is going to get hairy pretty fast. We saw Sharps lead the carries or the snaps at 30 to 21, and the carries 12 to 10. But K9 did get that receiving work. So if this offense can figure it out, this will be a two-headed monster. But until then, it's kind of just a murky situation at best. Denver and Tennessee, a game that had the biggest point spread to start the week. I think the biggest takeaway from this game is Denver's defense was not as dominant as many thought coming into the season. But good teams still find a way to win ugly games. But Tony Pollard, he's really the only running back in this Titans offense until Tajay Spears comes back. So Tony Pollard is a must-start week on week. Calvin Ridley, 8 targets, 4 receptions. Rookie Elick from Stanford, he saw 7 targets, but only hauled in 2 receptions. His ADOT was 19 yards. He seems to be a big play down the field only option at this point. And this Broncos running back room, it's getting a little crowded. J.K. Dobbins saw 16 carries, a lot of that coming in the second half. R.J. Harvey, the rookie, he only saw 6, and Bo saw 3 design runs himself. Kind of just a hairy, crowded situation in Denver right now in the running back room. Lions, Packers, a lot to take away from this game, but not all positive. The Lions, they seem to be a little washed out. Ben Johnson, their offense looked very mediocre besides the running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, 10 receptions is going to help anyone's fantasy numbers, but Montgomery and Gibbs, they're back to their two-headed monster ways from seasons past, both viable options moving forward. Matthew Golden, the Green Bay Packers' first-round wide receiver, not the best debut, but he was in on 50% of passing snaps, so that's something good to move forward. The Lions, like I said, just very mediocre. Not a lot to write about. Kind of disappointed in the wide receiver room and Jared Goff as a whole. And for the Packers, Tucker Kraft. He led the team in passing snaps, got a touchdown, 4 targets, 4 receptions. Tight end 1 moving forward. Lastly, probably the game of the year, Bills-Ravens. The Bills with an amazing comeback win in the final 5 minutes. And we just saw crazy numbers, especially from the Bills wide receivers. Keon Coleman, 11 targets. Looks like that sophomore breakout is pending. He was in on 56 of 59 passing snaps last night. If he sees this kind of volume moving forward with a quarterback like Josh Allen, he might finish as a top 12 wide receiver. Khalil Shakir and Joshua Palmer, each 8 and 9 targets respectively. And Dalton Kincaid, it felt like he had a lot more work, but it's just because those 4 catches were all in big moments. And on the Ravens side of the ball, their offense looked unstoppable for the first 3.5 quarters of football, but it really was just Lamar, Zay Flowers, and Derrick Henry doing everything. Mark Andrews, 16 of the possible 23 snaps, but just one target. If I'm a Mark Andrews owner, I'm a little bit nervous considering Isaiah likely did not play last night. That's just not something that you're used to seeing from Mark Andrews.